You have probably heard someone say things like, just let it go, or you are overreacting. Many people grew up hearing these words regularly. And for some, this was simply the emotional environment of their entire childhood. And sometimes the adults in those situations were doing their best. Many parents simply did not have the emotional tools to offer comfort. They were often dealing with their own unresolved pain and difficult histories. But when a child consistently receives no comfort during moments of fear or sadness, something quietly shifts inside them. They begin to learn that their emotions are a problem. And over time, this shapes how they see themselves and everyone around them. Psychology actually shows that early emotional experiences become the foundation for how a person handles relationships and feelings throughout their entire life. So here is what psychology suggests about people who never truly received comfort as children. 1. They often learn to hide what they feel. When a child's emotions are met with silence or criticism, they do not stop having those emotions. They simply learn to keep them private and invisible to others. A lot of people who grew up this way become very skilled at appearing completely fine. They smile. They function well. But they rarely share what is genuinely happening inside their own emotional world. Psychologists explain that suppressing emotions consistently does not make them disappear. It actually stores them in the body and mind over time. For example, someone might feel intense anxiety in situations that seem small to everyone else around them. 2. They often struggle to ask for help. Asking for help requires believing that someone will actually respond. But if asking for comfort as a child always led to rejection, the lesson learned was simply do not ask. Most people in this situation genuinely do not realize they have this pattern. They think they are just independent or private. But often they are simply protecting themselves from the disappointment of being ignored or dismissed again. Psychologists call this emotional self-reliance as a coping style. It works enough to survive, but it also creates deep loneliness over time. This could look like always saying, I am fine, even when things are clearly falling apart inside. 3. They sometimes find closeness uncomfortable. This might sound surprising, but when someone never experienced safe emotional closeness, as a child, genuine warmth from others can actually feel unfamiliar or even slightly threatening. A lot of people with this background find themselves pulling away exactly when a relationship starts to feel genuinely close. It does not mean they do not want connection. It means closeness was never fully associated with safety in their experience. Psychologists explain that the nervous system learns what to expect early in life. If closeness was unpredictable or absent, it can feel easier to stay slightly distant. For example, someone might avoid deep conversations even with people they truly trust and value. 4. They tend to be very hard on themselves. When a child is not comforted during difficult moments, they often draw a quiet internal conclusion. They decide that their pain must not matter or that they must have caused it somehow. Most people carry this belief completely unconsciously. It shows up as harsh self-criticism. It shows up as feeling like a burden when they need something. It shows up as apologizing for having feelings at all. Psychologists explain that children naturally make themselves responsible for the emotional responses of the adults around them. For example, you might notice yourself feeling guilty simply for having a need or for taking up emotional space with someone you care about. 5. They often become deeply empathetic toward others. Because they know what it feels like to be unheard, many people with this background become incredibly attentive to the emotions of the people around them. They notice when someone is struggling before that person even speaks. They often show up for others with genuine warmth and patience, but they rarely allow others to show up for them in the same way. Psychology often emphasizes that this kind of empathy is a real strength, but it can also become unbalanced. This could look like always being the one who listens, but never allowing yourself to be the one who is heard and held. 6. Healing is genuinely possible even later in life. Psychology clearly shows that the brain and emotional patterns remain capable of change well into adulthood. Early experiences shape us, but they do not permanently define us. A lot of people believe that if they did not receive comfort early, then they are simply built differently and cannot change. But this is not what psychology actually shows us. The patterns learned early can be gently and gradually unlearned over time. Psychologists explain that healing often happens through new emotional experiences in safe relationships. This might mean therapy. It might mean one honest friendship. For example, simply allowing one person to comfort you without immediately pulling away is already a meaningful and real step forward. Growing up without comfort does not mean something was wrong with you as a child. It means the people around you were limited in what they could offer at that time. That gap was never a reflection of your worth. What you learned to do to survive made complete sense then. But you do not have to carry those same strategies forever. Slowly allowing yourself to receive care is not weakness. It is actually one of the most courageous things a person can do. Healing from a childhood without comfort is not about becoming a completely different person. It is about slowly learning that your emotions deserve space, and that asking for support does not make you a burden to the people who genuinely care about you.